Today we're going to repair the dent on this floor brace.
There is a fairly significant bit of damage here on this seat support, most likely going over a bump or something in the road. Hit that, dented it up pretty good. I considered trying to do it with a dent puller, but I can't get my slide hammer under here, under the car. So I think what I'm going to do is just drill out the spot welds, repair it, and then plug weld it back in place. We can sort of see where the spot welds are from the top side.
Using this stripping disc is useful for locating the divots where the spot welds are.
Now I'm going to locate each spot weld with a center punch.
I then used a center drill to drill the center of each spot weld. Then I drilled out each of the spot welds with a spot weld cutter. I used this painter's tool to separate the seams because it's flat and I can get in between the joint without damaging either side of the sheet metal. Then I switched to the air hammer to separate the spot welds where I couldn't reach with the painter's tool.
I was thinking maybe I could get the dent out of here by putting it on something flat and beating it from the other side. I'm going to try and coax it out in a little bit more elegant manner. So what I've done is I've taken a small piece of wood and put it on the dent on the inside and reinforced it with this angle iron underneath, and hopefully as I tighten down it will push this dent out.
Although this technique works, I wasn't able to get enough leverage, so I switched to my bench vise.
So that's quite a bit better. There's still some space between there though. We'll have to flatten that out.
The rest of the damage was repaired with a hammer and dolly. The floor under this bracket needed to be cleaned up from rust, paint, and undercoating, and treated with phosphoric acid. The rust was removed using electrolysis. The bracket was placed in a bucket with enough water to cover it and a couple fistfuls of washing soda. A piece of rebar was used as a sacrificial anode. Before plugging in the charger, we connect the positive terminal to the rebar and the negative to the piece we're trying to derust. I used welding wire so I didn't have to put the clip in the water. Smart chargers will not work in this application. An old school charger like this one must be used. Once it is plugged in, the process can begin. Here we are 1 day into derusting with electrolysis. I still see bubbles forming from the brace, so I'm going to let the process continue. The rust on the floor was a bit more stubborn than I had expected, so after hitting it up with a wire wheel, I took the flap disc to it. While using the painter's tool to separate the seam, it split the metal in some areas. These don't lay down flat after that because the metal gets stretched. I used the Dremel tool and a cutoff wheel attachment to open the slit up a bit so that it'll lay flat and weld back together easier. Our part's been cooking for 3.5 days so far, and it looks like it's settled down. I don't see any more bubbling. So let's take it out and see how it looks. At this point, I just need to clean up the part using various wire wheels, brushes, and Scotch-Brite Rolock pads. Here's the floor brace after it's been all cleaned up. You can hardly even tell where the damage was originally. I masked off the surfaces that were going to be welded and put a coat of Zero Rust on the inside of the brace and on the bottom of the floor pan. I'm using my jack to hold the bracket up against the floor pan. I can see where the original spot welds were to help me line it up. Now I'm going to use some self-tapping screws before welding this in. I used this clamp to line up the remaining spot welds, cleaned up the surfaces, and welded them into place. And now for my absolute least favorite part of all this, grinding down the welds. So for your benefit, I'll just fast forward through all of this. And here's the floor brace after we've removed it, fixed the dent, and welded it back in place. Now all I've got to do is fix the dent on the passenger side. As always, we really enjoy hearing from you, so please leave some comments below.